Patrice Nganang, the acclaimed author of Dog Days, Mount Pleasant, and most recently, A Trail of Crab Tracks, which was a 2022 New Yorker Book of the Year, writes about his vibrant, animated youth in Cameroon, a period of upheaval and change in the country's history and in his life. Patrice Nganang was born in Cameroon and is a novelist, a poet, and an essayist. His novel, Dog Days, received the Prix Marguerite Yourcenar and the Grand Prix littéraire d'Afrique noire, I do not speak French, when the Plums Are Ripe and A Trail of Crab Tracks. He teaches comparative literature at Stony Brook University in New York. Scale Boy is a memoir that brings great brightness and joy to the tumultuous years of discovering oneself and one's community. Though there are moments of danger and confusion in his story, Nganang aims to present a new vision of a young Black African man's coming of age. Please join me in welcoming Patrice Nganang.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me and for really braving the time, the weather, and for those of you who had shifts. You see, one brother came here to apologize. Specifically came to apologize and say, I cannot come. I'm not sure it happened to you all the time, that somebody travels through town to come and apologize and say, I cannot come, and rushes to work. I mean, we are all adults, and that is a sign of love. And it is deep love, really, in the middle of capitalism, in the middle of politics, in the middle of all that. And I take it to heart the same way I do the fact that you are here. And you know, it's not the first time. It is a particular pleasure for me to see, you know, Miriam. I saw her when she was still such a little baby. And there she is, a grown person already. There she is, the daughter of Amy. Amy is, you know, there is one difference between Amy, I would say, and Nyasha, who is my wife, is that, you know, there are many distinctions clearly, but there is one, is that Amy knows what is here in my mind fully. Totally. And if I don't appear someplace, and because I was, you know, we had a miscommunication, and I was thinking I'm going to be late today, even though I drove from Princeton, and I was waiting there at a Jamaican joint. Not that I wanted to be late. I came very early, but we had a miscommunication in the way, so I had to rush now. And on my way, I say it because if you rush in Washington, D.C., you get a ticket to get there. I used to live here, so 25, you know, that's the highest that you can do. I know that. You say, okay, I don't want to get a ticket, so I'm going to go slow. But if I don't get here, Amy is here. Whatever I have to say, I will simply say, Amy, go ahead and say it, because she knows everything. Amy has the particularity of having seen me come to this country. And I suspect you even saw me when I was deported from my country and was sent to this country. And if I'm deported out of this country, you'll be there defending me to come back to this country. So that is how close we are, Amy. I mean, it doesn't mean that we see each other often, no. It is that the particularity of literature is that I barely see Amy, really. And she saw me when I didn't have any white hair. I cannot say the same thing about her, of course. You know why. Yes, I do. I think you translated Temps de Chien when you didn't have kids, did you?
No.
Started
before kids.
Yeah,
After kids.
exactly. So It is this book here, the first one she translated of my book. I've published a few books, around 15. And it's always, when they say an African writer, I'm not going to say black writer, an African writer. When appears in general, one has a feeling, is your first book? No, come on. It's always the question, no, really, literally, this one here is around my 15. And so I don't count anymore. But the particularity of Amy is that she knew me exactly when I was so anxious to publish my next book. And she translated the second one, really. And the one that came out of me in moments of total despair, where I really had a feeling, what I'm wiping here are tears. And when I had the feeling, am I going to be published at all? The feeling that one forgets when it's published a few books, you realize that's not the most important. Writing is the most important, but tell that to a young writer, the young writer that I was, and writing is the most important, not publishing. So you have to grow into it. So it is, when Amy, I simply said, you can speak in my stead. And so I'm so happy that you are here. And I'm so happy that we are here together. Because, you see, when I talk about all those things, it is obviously part of the reading itself. I mean, really, we could actually be, a small circle, we'll still be conversing. The thing is that I have to speak in a mic. I realize that automatically, yeah. The thing is that, I cannot, it's my sister who made this. I have to, I have to find a way around it because people have to see it. Eh? Yes. So the thing is that what we're talking about is literature, indeed, how it is produced, and the theme of all the books I write is what it is to become a writer, to be a writer. It is the only thing I write about. How do you become a writer? So you can have chapters of that. How do you become an African writer? How do you become a Bamileke writer? How did I become a writer? How do you become a writer during the 40s as an African, during the 20s, 70s? So how do you become a writer now, which is a very dangerous time for writers, particularly in America for a writer. How do you become a writer when books actually are not paper books anymore, and your computer has expanded its possibilities? Right. So that's stuff of my memoir. That is what my memoir talks about, Scale Boy. So you can imagine scale is, of course, a weighing instrument, but at the same time, the schoolboy is a play of words, school, scale. But the expanding of my voice has to do with translation as well, because being an African writer, I was living in Germany back then. It is not a common sense that one is an African writer, lives in Germany and speaks German fluently, and is a Bangante writer, right? Zangante. It's a lot. It is not self-evident that one has that identity, but at the same time, has a voice that becomes large. A translator is important in that constellation. So Amy, my first text translated into English, actually. A chapter of Dark Days, and then the book itself, Dark Days, Temps de Chien. So this has followed me. You have a second installment of the book, and a third one is certainly going to be possible because the main character is not dying. If I die before, who knows? It's a book about a dictator, so around a dictator. Let's put it that way. So Amy expands my voice and transforms it into a voice that can be heard in the United States. And I publish normally in French. I think you can hear that in a way. So I write a few other books in French, and Amy translates all of them, Mount Pleasant, until the last one. And then I fire Amy. That's the way life is. So what I mean by that is that I start writing in English myself. And because I think it is so lucrative, she shouldn't take all the money, you know. Yes, I mean, really, white people should not rob us off. What's that? In any case, I fire Amy, and I start writing in English myself. There's the dollar in it. No, it's a different story. There are many chapters that critics can write, can fantasize about, but it is fundamentally a story of a friendship. You know, it's not even a friendship, it's more than a friendship, you know, because I say she has my brain, and she's, because an African writer doesn't only tell stories, you are essentially a world citizen. You're a citizen fundamentally. You're installed in a political battle because your continent is embedded in struggles. So Amy has been with me, part of so many struggles that one barely can talk about them. The struggle for my own freedom during my incarceration, the struggle for my liberation, the struggle for the liberation of many other people, the campaign of which I was leading. Amy was always there. I've produced more T-shirts than I've produced books. Amy bought them all. You see, so I can tell you my T-shirts are more bought than my books because they are more valuable to people. Books are longer to read, but T-shirts have a message. For instance, this cap there that my uncle has, qui veut peu, it is a T-shirt as well, you know, and people love it. So it's things like that. Amy bought them all systematically because she's in all campaigns. My books are quite translated, honestly. I've never had a translator like Amy. I mean, really, she knows every campaign I do. She knows where I take risks that are not necessary, where my wife will say, "What were you thinking?" But I think with Amy there, she's there, you know. But I saw her taking risks as well. I was thinking, Amy was going to be fired. But you quit your job, did you not? Yeah, I was saying, she's going to be fired. Why do you do that? And I was thinking, that's what she's asking me as well. Why? Are you not going to be fired? I will say, you know, online I write in French. My colleagues don't read it. And if they read French, I write in my mother tongue. They will stop reading it. Until somebody translates, you know. But Amy was in English. And she used to teach at the New College of Florida. And I visited her only once, twice. You know, we barely see each other, but we know each other for so long. And now she works at Penn. But since 2005, they have led so many campaigns with Penn that I don't even know how you started working with Penn, because for me it's so natural. It's an extension of Amy, because Penn is an extension of me. Penn freed me from jail, freed many people who were incarcerated from jail, and I led their campaigns. From Penn USA, Penn France, Penn Germany, Penn Netherlands. I know them all because I work with them. They gave me money. I made more money from Penn than I made from my books. Yeah, because that money freed people, fed people, sent people to school. I think literature is important. Literature is fundamental. Literature is not only reading a good story. Literature frees people, puts people to school, opens the doors of prison for people to walk free. Literature does that. That's my understanding of literature. And so when I say that I write a book to tell what it is that the writer does, or how I became a writer, that's what I narrate. Of course, I understand that people find it not interesting. I mean, it is more interesting to have a film that becomes Netflix. But you don't know maybe what it is to free somebody from prison. Simply the feeling of that person who was innocent is walking free. And to have been in a campaign that was led by two people sometimes Amy and me only. And I don't tell her that she's the only one. Because I'm afraid she'll run away. He says it's too dangerous. You know? Literature is that. It's two people who don't know each other. You see what I'm trying to say? It's that literature is a story of love, of perpetual, unconditional love of humanity. It is a story of actually being together, of building it on a constant basis. And not of somebody you know before, it is of somebody you discover along the way. And that person may, in freedom, not remain your friend. Actually, you thought the person was your friend, and then you discover the person is actually your enemy. But your task is done when the person is free, because the person is not your slave. You see? So it is that particular engagement for somebody you don't know that literature is. So when we talk, that I hope is something you will remember in a way from my being here with you and from us having from 2003, I say 2001. Exactly, that's where Dog Days came out. Ah, yeah, indeed. Yes, short story. There we go. You see, my memory. I have a bad memory. That's why I wrote a memoir of childhood, because I count on friends, family, counted to help me remember all those things. So from 2001 to 2026 is our very first time, really, to be on the stage. So if you allow me to beg Amy to come here with me, and let's do the thing. Please.
We're going to ask questions. Should we sit?
Well, I stand, you can sit if you want, you can stand, it's okay.
Looks better if you stand. Looks better if I stand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'd thought about a bunch of questions to ask you, but yes. Okay.
Yeah, we may need two mics then.
Well, we can share.
No, it's fine. You'll find a mic. I think they have one. They have the infrastructure, so I think a mic is the cheapest thing they can have. There we go, you see?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, please
that on?
sit. Please sit.
Okay.
It's maybe better that way.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll stand.
Okay.
But, so in what you were just saying, you brought to mind The Invisible Republic.
Yes.
Which is an essay you wrote somewhere around 2006,
Yeah.
I'd say. And in that, you talk about the intimacy of literature. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about that, about the relationship between a writer and their readers,
Yeah.
about questions of intimacy and openness and hope.
Yes. The Invisible Republic is a text. It's a conference I actually wrote when I was going to Cameroon on a book tour. So 2005 is a moment where I also had led a campaign to free a few students who had been incarcerated for activism. And it didn't please me, so I simply wrote a few texts to say, the government is wrong, they are right, full stop. And some of the texts were longer than that, of course. And they were afraid. So I took the book tour as an occasion to politicize a little bit and to meet them and student organizations, all those things. A lesson I did learn from a few American thinkers, Chomsky. So the oppressor pays for the ticket and you go there, you undermine the oppressor with the groups that work against the oppressor, something along those lines. But that's the Chomsky of before. In any case, to protect myself in general, I can say it now, I use electricity, light. So I stand in light and I know nobody will arrest me. So in other words, I published everything I wanted to say in the newspaper before coming to say it, for nobody to ever say that I said something wrong and arrest me. Because I was saying, what I just read there, back then you didn't have streaming. 2005, so you didn't have any streaming, so I published in newspapers. So it is that text, The Invisible Republic, and define what literature is, does, how it has to be understood, and what the writer's work can be in a country like Cameroon. So the Invisible Republic is essentially a relation of a writer to people you don't know. Because those youngsters, I did not know them. As it happens, many of them entered into politics and remain my friends until today. So one actually called me a few days ago because he is in another battle. So we remain friends because when you free somebody from jail, it is even more than your brother if the person doesn't become your enemy. It is two ways because you become so close. So literature is a little bit that for me. It's that a book is back then when you used to give your phone number to somebody, or when you used to give, here's my card. The book is the card you give to somebody. You say, here's my card here. That's me. Call me if you want. Because you have my identity in a way. You have my number, my name, and all that. So a book is that. It tells the story of who you are. It makes it possible for people to actually trust you because they understand the story that you told. And they understand if you are a trustworthy person or not.
Okay. So following up on questions of a book telling you who you are, you spend a lot of time in Scale Boy talking about names. And you do that in other works of your fiction. But you recite your own ndap.
Yes.
And praise names of your mother, your father, your sisters, your aunt. Can you talk about the importance of that act of naming for transmitting parts of Bamileke culture, but also for building connections to the people who are your home?
Yes, there is a certain misunderstanding in the history of literature. It is that the West invented the genre of autobiography, of narrating oneself. So the misunderstanding comes from the fact that the West understands literature as something that is written like this, in the form of a book. And so because the West understands the autobiography as being a book, the West can therefore say that autobiography start here, because books start here. So now where I come from, Bangante, Bamileke, we have not only a name, but we have what we call a ndap. The ndap is more important than your name for us. N-D-A-P, ndap. Ndap. Can we say ndap together? Ndap. Ndap.
Ndap.
Uh-huh. Ndap, my ndap is Tanu. So Tanu is, Ta is father, Nu is history. So Tanu is father of history. So you can imagine that when you're a child, one calls you Tanu, of course, it means nothing. It means, it's your name, Tanu, you run around. But when you are a writer, you write your first book, then when you become an important writer, you want to become, you feel writing is important, you say, damn, my ndap is father of history. I hit the jackpot there, you see. You discover suddenly that your ndap is important, but also ndap is a function, it's a cultural function. It's a role you play in the culture you come from, the society you come from, mine. And that ndap comes from your mother. It relates you to your mother. Because mine is Njanu. So the person who cultivates history. And I am father of history. So she transmits the name. So it is a material name, if you want. And all Bamileke have that function as well inscribed in their name. So what I was saying about autobiography is that Tano is already giving me the function of narrating history, of narrating. But at the same time, the fact that it's related to my mother make people who are from my group act like this. For instance, if this wasn't my uncle, Takwa, he will, when he meets me, not ask for my name. He will ask, what is your ndap? And when I say my ndap, he will react this way. You are the son of, say the name of my mother. Say the ndap of my mother. And continue, she herself was. You see, my autobiography is automatically written in front of me. So it is spoken in front of me. In other words, autobiographies do not have to be written in the form of a book. Autobiographies are things that are lived permanently and constantly in the place where I come from. And that is what I wanted to articulate in this book in many ways. You know, attach me to a particular genealogy and tell the story of that place at the same time. But yes, using the form that, you know, the West understands, which is a book. Yes.
So I'm hoping that we can get you to read a passage from the book.
But I'm sure you have one or two more questions.
Okay.
And
You want questions first?
yeah, I don't know, you know. But maybe I should ask you a few questions as well. Go ahead.
So there's a line in the beginning of the book on page 130. You're talking about your scale, the Krups, and then you have a line.
Okay.
130. In its own way, the scale, it was my family and remains so. Each of us knows how we sit on old chairs.
Yeah, indeed.
And as someone who has read just about everything you've written, not everything, that's a metaphor that is new to me in your writing. So it struck me. Can you talk about what you mean by old chairs?
Well, the thing is that the context of writing this book was a little bit different. I wrote this book in English, I said it before, and I wrote it in conversation with my village, in direct conversation with my village. And the conversation with my village happens in our mother tongue. And many of my previous books didn't have that immediate conversation with my mother tongue because I was writing them in French.
In French.
And so because of that immediate conversation with my mother tongue, it was possible for me to grab way of speaking in my mother tongue and transplant them, put them in the English that I was writing. I always felt that if I'm intelligent in any way, it's because my parents were. It's because my grandparents were. It's because my ancestors were. So I always felt that I didn't do anything particular. I came to this country at 30 years old and I was teaching German in Pennsylvania. You see, it is quite strange. A Cameroonian who did his studies in Cameroon come to America to teach German. Yeah, it is quite funny. I mean, in Pennsylvania, in PA, on top of it, I was thinking, what am I doing here? Back then, people didn't use the term fake, but I always felt I'm fooling somebody here, you know. My students should fire me, something like that, because obviously I'm not German. You know, they would prefer probably somebody from Germany to teach them German, but they never minded. They said, no, it's just fine. You want your German. It's from you. I have tons of friends. All my students from Pennsylvania, I love them. You know, Central Pennsylvania. So the conversation that went into this book was a little bit self-questioning. And, because, for instance, I never spoke in French with my mother. So if I even speak my mother tongue, it's because she insisted on it, that she will never address me in French. She will simply never do. So in Cameroon, when we grow up, most of our friends are from different ethnicities. So French becomes a language of the general consensus. But then I'll play with my friends in French, and when they beat me, I turn around to my mother, she speaks my mother tongue, and I speak in French to them. What's going on, And she insisted, even in moments of tragedy, no. So that is one moment where I felt if I talk about her, I simply cannot speak about her using French as the way of doing that.
Yeah.
So such words come from the depth of who I am.
Okay. So in the French version of Dog Days,
Yeah.
there were 14 footnotes. Those were words, expressions, whether in Camfranglais, Medumba, that were translated into French in your footnotes, or in a few cases you made fun of the translation in your footnotes. And then when I translated Dog Days, you insisted that we get rid of all the footnotes.
Yeah.
In this book, and so you had arguments with your editor about the footnotes in French. We had discussions to make sure that there wouldn't be footnotes, though I had to have a lexicon at the end of the translation. With this book, there are a lot of words that are not in English, that are not in French, and that are not really translated in this book.
Please buy the book. She doesn't want you to buy it.
Did you have to argue to keep the books?
The book is understandable.
Oh, it is. It's beautiful. But did you have to have an argument with the editor about keeping them?
No.
No? How did that work? Maybe it's because you've published 15 books already, so you get.
It is something I changed as well. When I was writing the second book, Dog Days, like many writers, I was intransigent. So, an adolescent in writing. And then I discovered that there's one aspect in being understood that's not bad. So that aspect of speaking out is interesting. You say what you want to say, great, fantastic, you're free, excellent. But nobody understood it. Is it good? You see, that's what your parents will tell you. You had tantrum, fantastic, destroyed everything, great. But nobody understood why you're angry. You still have to explain it. You waste time twice. Tantrum, explaining. So I matured a little bit. And I had to find a few other strategies to articulate what I wanted to say for people who do not necessarily understand the multiplicities of the languages that I speak, for them to understand what I want to say. So that's why in this book, I did find a strategy to fine-tune around the multiplicities of languages that Cameroonians speak for the generality to be understood as well, without losing the specific flavor of the distinct languages that I have in my belly.
Yep.
One of which, of course, being the language of my mother, of my grandparents. Because here is my uncle. I own the house now, so we are neighbors. One will be my house, the house of my grandparents, mother's side. So in that house, we speak, of course, in our mother tongue. But then in Yaoundé, we speak in French. And I told you that I speak German. I came here to teach German, so I speak German. Cameroon has a history with Germany. So having already those, And, you know, I'm speaking in English with you now, so I didn't start when I came here. Cameroon also has English. So with all those languages, it is obvious that a tantrum will not solve it. You have to find a way somehow to understand each other. So, and you cannot footnote your life along the way. You have to find a language that will make it possible for people to get what you want to say. And actually, not a verbiage, but the complexity of your thought. And in its own way, but in its original way.
Yep.
And I'm trying to say that a thought that is not only, let's say, you know, a platitude, but something that is really, that demands thinking as well. So one needs a writer to build up a language that is at the same time understood by most people, and that articulates such complexity. So I'm not sure I did find that language in this autobiography, but it has been my quest. Dog Days was one of the first. The first was the first book, clearly, because Dog Days is my second book. But this one is the last, probably, let's put it this way. In those things, it is important to have a good translator and a good publisher. I was fortunate, as you see yourself, to have a good translator for 25 years. That is a long time. And 5 books, that is a long way to go. It's thousands of pages. I took her life away from her.
Or vice versa.
Yes, and but also an understanding publisher. And I discovered that Farage Trost and Giraud gave me the leverage, actually,
Yep.
that I didn't imagine an American publisher could give, of that magnitude could give a writer.
Yeah.
So I always feel, anywhere I am, that I'm a lucky, here they say lucky bee, but I'm really that lucky bee. Because I've been blessed to have an understanding translator where when I say something, Amy understands it long time before anyone understands it already. And she doesn't blame me for it because she understood. Even when I make a mistake, you say, yeah, you made a mistake, let him run a little bit. And with the publisher as well, it's that from the book that I read coming out of American publishing industry, it goes at Chich, you know, Chich literature. I'm very much disappointed. I'm not saying that my books are great, but it just seems to me that the heavy-handed editorial force that one has on many books makes the complexity of Africa disappear. I'm not saying that I didn't have editors here. If I tell you I had, it will be 5 editors who went through the book. So, and professionally, where we had to, we worked through every single word. It's 5 years of labor. None of them questioned those particular aspects. They accepted it, all of them. You see, so that's why I'm saying I have an understanding publisher as well.
Yeah.
That's what made it possible.
Okay, I told you before we started that I wanted to ask about butterflies.
Yes.
So there's a through line in all of your books, starting with Dog Days, which is a trip around Yaoundé through the eyes of a dog. And as he's trying to understand, Mbujak is trying to understand the world around him, he is not sure if he's at times drunk or if he's hallucinating or if people are just really that crazy. That sort of moment of uncertainty about reality shifts through your books. And I can think about the scene in Mount Pleasant with the butterflies. And then in this book, there are many scenes of butterflies. And you also connect them back to Wanje's attempted escape through the swamps. And I'm wondering if you can talk about hallucination or magical realism as a tool for capturing a reality that defies description?
You know, I was born in Yaoundé. Yaoundé is a city in the middle of Africa there, but to me it is the most important city in the sense that all my books, including this one, those two anyway, speak only about Yaoundé. So Yaoundé is the only character in all my writing. So I've been doing that now since 1995, when I published my first book, really. LOB, it's Yaoundé. So until Scale Boy, Yaoundé. So you have to be either insane, because if I came in this room and asked you, do you know Yaoundé? I wouldn't expect anyone to know. But look, when I started writing about Yaoundé, people were saying it has no future. I told them that's the only thing that I think of. I've lived in so many places on the planet. I've lived in Washington, D.C. for 3 years, if not 4. Georgetown, but I was writing on Yaoundé, living in D.C. So I'm in Princeton. I write in Yaoundé. I was living in New York, Yaoundé. So you have to be stubborn to do so, or a writer. That's my topic. Now, Yaoundé was created, and I really literally say that. There was agglomerations, villages before, but Yaoundé itself was created by a German man, Zenker, and who loved butterflies. So in the sense that he is the first white man who survived in that space, because that space killed every single white person who came there before him. They died in a few months. Malaria, insanity, whatever, wiped them out. I don't know what it is. Maybe he had a constitution of the body that simply could not be defeated by the type of rain you have in Yaoundé. I have my friend here, a journalist, who knows Yaoundé very well. Mamadou, you know Yaoundé? The type of, were you born in Yaoundé?
No.
Okay. The type of rain you have in Yaoundé, do you have it somewhere else? It perforates your brain. Have you ever seen the type of rain that follows you? Literally. Or you are here, you see the rain is on the other side of the street. You look at the rain like this, are you going to come? Yes or no? You see, that is a type of, it rains, it is so heavy on you that you feel you will become insane. So the man survived all that. And Yaoundé, I say he created it because the name Yaoundé itself is a German name. Yaoundé means a window. But what the French did, they added an accent aigu to it. Nothing more. Right? But it's a German name. So until today, Yaoundé is the only African city that has a German name. But people in Yaoundé itself do not know that. They will say that Yaoundé is the authentic African name. It means something maybe deeply rooted in African culture. No, it is a German name, you see. But the man was a collector. So he collected everything. So as a consequence, many of the things that are germane to Yaoundé carry his name. And Yaoundéans do not know that either. So the butterflies, the fish, the crabs, the plants, many flowers, the trees. All, what can you imagine? The only thing Yaoundé that doesn't carry his name is the air. So he was the type of colonist that made it possible for you. You know, I mean, here in the US, it is similar, if you want. Only the air, even the air has the name of somebody. In Cameroon, during colonialism, the French came to the idea of giving a name to places, to mountains. No, he is invisible. His name is on the things that you touch, that you eat, that you like. But you don't know that, you see. So I don't think it is magical realism. I think it is simply educating people about the invisible part of our own dispossession. It's like the chains in which we are. We don't see them. The worst type of chains that capture our minds are actually invisible. That is the type of writing that I hope I do.
I think we're probably getting close to time. Do we have time for him to read a passage from the book? Or do you not want to read and just take questions from the audience?
Okay, so let me read a little bit because I think
What are you going
it
to read?
came.
To the next page through.
Okay. When she orders, I read. I know it from home as well. She orders, I do. The river had a call of its own that Lily and I could not resist. Lily is my sister. Lily is the one who made these clothes. So it is not, it's a coincidence, but that's Lily. These clothes, the symbols you have here, this is a writing system. The writing system of Njoya. He invented them. The writing system I use in many of my books. That is what it means to be a writer for me. So I talked about the river. Yaoundé is in one of the most rainy places on the planet. The river had a call of its own that Lily and I could not resist. Seated on its shores, we periodically slapped our Vaseline-covered ears, necks, and legs. We sat on Nkomkana, the epilepsy rock, our feet soaked in the phosphorescent water flow, splashing them rhythmically. And a catfish will meander its way down the crystalline stream. A darkish shadow in the sprinkling brook. We will look closer, and there we will see a platoon of translucent tadpoles swinging their bodies left and right, as if in an aquatic attack. The sun will reverberate across the river surface in a multitude of diamond-looking sparks. And as we gaze through our own figures reflected, we will imagine we saw a luminous python irradiating the lily leaves, flip side and shudder. It was not a nymph playing with our imagination, nor a seahorse galloping between stones, but the cavernous croak of a green frog jumping into the water to hide. I think you have to continue reading. Go ahead.
The amphibious creature's oceanid evanescence would add to the chirping beatitude of the surroundings. Often we would dig out the water and collect the sand that accumulated on the riverbanks. We called it gold. Yes, gold. Lily's temerity would even have her overturn algae-covered stones, the very ones that were always suspected to be hiding places for some venomous mollusk, or for new. Not for long, for the voice of more dedicated sand collectors always chased us away. This lucrative activity kept the older boys busy, while women, turn the page, while women downstream washed their clothes, slamming them onto the rocks in a movement that projected their body in a dance, their breasts swinging in an orchestral ballet. We can stop there, I think. For me, this sort of passage where you're describing nature gets at that question of hallucination, just in the beautiful way that you capture the imagination and the play of light. I think that's, to me, that's lovely.
You see, I was strangled by a cough. So that's why I didn't finish reading, because it was a very difficult read for me. It's not, It was physical. But I'm sure you have a question or two. You were allowed to have one or two questions.
Hi, I'm originally from Cameroon too. Hi, Patrice. I'd like to know how much, you and I must acknowledge that language is a battlefield or a conflict terrain in Cameroon. Yeah. And with events in the last 10 years unfolding into an armed conflict, how much of that whole scenario played into your writing of this book?
The first thing I would like to, in acknowledging the question, I would like to introduce Councillor Wakai, because I talk so much of Amy because she overwhelmed me. As you see, I'm easily overwhelmed. But Councillor is a very delicate writer, and who has a large story to tell. In Cameroon, English and French are ethnicities. They are new ethnicities, one would say in scholarship, but they are tribes. A new tribe, types of tribes. Council comes from a family that is rooted in a battle to articulate and to formulate the demands of the Anglophone tribe. Because there is a Francophone tribe, there are two. And a family that suffered heavily for having done that. So it is a particular pleasure for me to listen to that question indeed, and to acknowledge even that he told me that he was in pain. He came and there he is. And I can say that in Cameroon, those who are from the Francophone tribe and those who are from the Anglophone tribe don't meet in the same event, even if you have only a few people. In general, I am in an event, I have only the Francophone tribe, and my jokes are funny to them. In another one, I have the Anglophone tribe, and I joke with them, but never the two. So it's my way of saying thank you very much. So we have three, but essentially we have now two countries in our bellies. And literature has to articulate it. Literature has to do that. And writers of our age, of our time, of course, all of us understand, you don't make money out of books. Look for another job. Or if you want to, write about something else. You see, it is a difficult choice you have to make. And we constantly have been writing with each other. Was it 2005 as well? Yeah, 2005. See, I have long-lasting friends. It is difficult for me to run away from friends. The last time we wrote together again, it was last year or 2 years ago. Exactly. So it's 21, 22 years of exchange with each other. Mamadou Mfa, when did we meet you for the first time? It was... Yeah, of course. Yeah. What year was it again?
It was, I think 2007, 2008, something like that.
Yeah, you see.
It was a long time ago.
It's a long time ago,
Yeah.
Yes.
And when I came to the US, I went to your house in
In Princeton,
New Jersey. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. You know, he was the main editor of Emergence, a newspaper there in Cameroon. Works now for Voice of America.
Now I work for the Voice of America.
Yeah.
Even if
Exactly. And he belongs to the Francophone tribe. So I'm a Francophone as well, so we belong to the Francophone tribe. So what you are saying is that language is a battlefield, and it's a bloody one. And it is really one in which people are killed, murdered, villages are burned down, women are raped. You have, now it is close to 1 million people who are displaced, internally displaced. If we count those who are internally displaced, which is refugees in the Francophone side of Cameroon, it will be around 2 million. So it is a murderous adventure. It is amazing what it means to have swallowed the country alive. And I think Cameroon is shaking under that particular, the violent swallowing of a country. I, as a person, grew up, without even realizing the depth of the tragedy that was going on, because I was born in Yaoundé, in the depth of the Francophone side.
Yeah.
Even to discover that I'm Francophone needed an exercise. Somebody had to tell me. It's like somebody tells you are white. You know that? I never thought about it. I'm white. So, you are Francophone. Yes. No, it is a murderous battlefield. But we'll get there. So writing in English was for me an exercise. But for many, it is a matter of survival. I understand that. We won't solve it today, for sure. Mama, you want to say something? Oh, yes, two. Okay.
No, just to say thank you. I'm happy to be here. Patrice Nganang is a very talented writer. He's somebody who supported me as well when I went to, I applied for a master's degree. He helped me with a recommendation. I'm very thankful for that. I can't wait to read the book. I haven't read the book yet, so I will see what is inside. But I'm sure it's a very good book, as I know you are a very good writer. So congratulations. And just a question. Like I said, I haven't read the book, but you mentioned something about German. Do you still see German influence in Yaoundé or in Cameroon in general? Because Cameroon was, I would say, colonized by Germans long time ago, like it was 100 years ago. I can't remember exactly. Do you still see the German influence in Cameroon? Or do you think that when the British and the French came, they, I would say, wiped out everything that the German did in Cameroon? What do you think about the relationship between Germany? Mm-hmm, I know you teach German, yes. So you're probably,
yes,
with Cameroon.
How many minutes can we extend? We can, okay. So it means we have to stop. If she says that, you have to stop. No, it is understood.
One question.
Yes, it is understood. Maybe you ask a question. You cannot?
It's already, I want to get a call.
No, you see, I'm not going to answer. He asked because he wanted to ask. Yes.
So I asked the question and you're not going to answer? Oh, you answer individually. Okay, but so do I ask the question now with the microphone?
Yes.
Okay, quick question. I lived in Cameroon myself a long time ago for several years, and I've been recently, several times to Cameroon. I've in this experience, I mean, I've learned what it is to be a Bamileke. And that is something very special. I mean, I'm a foreigner in Cameroon, but I've been to a number of African countries, and there is something with the Bamileke which you don't find, which you don't find. So then I'm getting to the question, I mean, it's really strange for someone like me to have a Bamileke tell me that he's has written, I mean, only about Yaoundé. And that he can relate to some extent to the mystery of Yaoundé behind.
I want you to talk about tribalism.
No, but this is very strange. So I want you to explain to me, but I mean, I'm saying that in a positive way. I mean, I certainly don't say it in a negative. The book is both.
Excellent. You see,
So,
we'll talk about
so
it in
very,
details.
very quickly. Sorry, I just want one thing. I just want to say real quickly, ask actually.
We can't extend any more questions.
Go ahead.
I visited Cameroon in the late 70s when it was referred to as the Switzerland of
was.
Cameroon, Yaoundé.
Yes,
Yaoundé was the Switzerland of Cameroon. Douala was hot and humid, and Yaoundé was cool. A few years later, when I returned for my father's funeral, Yaoundé felt like Douala. I was shocked.
Yes.
So I was just wondering if you have any of that in your book. And I just want to say that when I lived in Cameroon, I'm from the Francophone tribe, but I was going to school in Victoria. They call it Limbe now.
Limbe now, yeah.
So I was going to school on the English-speaking side, but my father and my family are French-speaking, Bassa, French-speaking. So when I heard that a Cameroonian man had written a book, and I heard you on National Public Radio, and then when I looked and saw you were here, I brought my daughter to hear you because now I really have to get the book. I hadn't planned on it, but it looks like I'm going to have to get it.
Please get the book, because this library also has to live from something. So let's buy all the books. And by the way, if my publisher knows that you bought all the books, oh my God, I'm going to actually be a New York Times bestseller. Isn't it? Please, thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.